What's going on, y'all? It's the Caveman back at it again with another video. And if you read the title, you know what this video is about. You're probably reading it like, oh shit, I gotta watch this and wonder what this idiot has to say. And you're probably giving me some confused looks like, how could you possibly think something like this? Yes, I truly do think Jameis Winston would be better off than Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as of 2020. I just think Tampa Bay has really struggled, with offense sometimes. I think Tom Brady has really himself struggled, even though he's got the best supporting offensive cast in the entire league. He himself has really struggled more than I think we've seen him struggle in quite a while, even with much worse casts surrounding him in New England. I just want to say real quick that, when I was trying to find statistical evidence to really support my claim here, there really wasn't much. I actually didn't realize how much Jameis Winston's interceptions not only inflated the offensive numbers, but also, really hurt the defense's numbers. So there really isn't much for statistical evidence as far as that goes to persuade my argument in my favor. But at the same time, I still feel like there are some considerations to be thought of that when talking about this topic. I think there are plenty of different things comparing the 2019 to the 2020 roster that I think really could have helped Jameis Winston. And I'm not even talking about the big additions they got in the offseason. I honest to God, like if Jameis Winston was a quarterback right now, in for Tom Brady with the roster Tom Brady has, Jameis Winston would be a top 10 quarterback, no doubt about it. But obviously, if Tom Brady didn't go there, they wouldn't have those weapons. So that's just a big, that's not even something to consider. The two biggest things I want to backpack on are the two things that I feel like could be what ifs, I guess. One's a what if, and one is like a player that was on the team for both years and somebody that I feel like is really helping out Tom Brady, whereas he didn't really help out Jameis Winston whatsoever. Let's talk about the what if real quick. Now, Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions last year. Everybody and their mother knows that. But he also threw for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I do think that often gets overlooked. Although the 30 touchdowns was pretty detrimental. He was the first quarterback to throw for 30 like that. That's pretty crazy. That's a feat in itself. Now, Jameis Winston is not necessarily the smartest quarterback, but neither was Brett Favre. I'm not going to compare the two, but let's just think about it here. Jameis Winston was a gunslinger, and that's exactly what Brett Favre was. And Brett Favre threw a decent amount of fucking interceptions. Now, 30 interceptions, not so much. But Jameis Winston also has never thrown for over 20 interceptions in his career, beside for last year. 18 was the most otherwise, and the lowest amount was 11, which is what Tom Brady is at right now. So Jameis Winston's ball security is definitely there. He has the potential to be smarter with the ball. I think, I don't know what his thought process was last year. He was literally just throwing to anybody he thought was open for half a second and was throwing picks left and right. But he definitely has the potential to have that fixed. I truly do think so. It's just in the past, he has shown that he has better ball security. Now, 18 interceptions, which was the most beside for last year with his 30, is not good. That's still more than an interception per game, but there were seasons where he only had 11 or 13 or 14, something like that, which is still not the best, but it's definitely better than 30, you know what I mean? He definitely has shown in the past glimpses of being able to protect the ball. I think if you give him that extra season, if you give him this season, I think he changes that. I truly do. And he claimed he would have if he would have played. I mean, he said he got eye correction surgery or whatever bullshit he said. So I truly think he could have fixed that. Now let's talk about the player that I was referring to early on, and that would be Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones was nowhere near the player that he is for Tom Brady that he was for Jameis Winston. The running game was pretty dog shit for Jameis Winston and was damn near non-existent for Jameis Winston. For Tom Brady, the running game is very much a big factor for him, being able to move the ball on offense. If Tom Brady did not have a running game at all, if Ronald Jones was not playing as well as he is right now, there would be a lot of issues for Tom Brady because he has struggled to throw the ball quite a bit. Ronald Jones this year has shown that he could be a very good running back, and although with a couple ball security issues, he's fumbled a couple times, which has cost him a lot of playing time in some certain games. Like sometimes he can just be written off the play script within the first drive if he, drops a pass or if he fumbles by chance. And Leonard Fournette will come in and completely take over the backfield. But then he'll be the running back to start the next week. So it's kind of weird, but Ronald Jones has shown glimpses of being a very good running back. He has come to be in the passing game a little more this year. He's definitely shown explosiveness, much better vision. I mean, he owns the longest run of the season this year with a 90-yard touchdown run, which is, or not 98 yards, it's a 98-yard touchdown run. I think that's probably almost a record. I think Derrick Henry had a 98-yard touchdown run last year or 2 years ago. But Ronald Jones has shown explosiveness and vision that we have not seen from him, especially not last year. Last year, Ronald Jones barely eclipsed 700 rushing yards for the entire season. As we're only 12 games in this season, and Ronald Jones has already eclipsed 800 yards, so he's already having a much better season. He's going to be an 1,000-yard rusher this season, which he was not even close to cracking last year. So I think that's just such a huge factor. If Jameis Winston had Ronald Jones, the same Ronald Jones that Tom Brady has, then Jameis Winston doesn't have to throw the ball nearly as much, which would lead to less interceptions. Obviously, that wouldn't lead to 5,000 yards, but it would lead to less interceptions and more W's. Tom Brady has obviously shown that he is not able to throw the deep ball whatsoever. He's not really able to pass that well at all. And we have seen a very healthy dose of Ronald Jones, and he's really kind of proving himself. And even sprinkling in a little Leonard Fournette. He had that big game against Carolina. Like, Tom Brady has had a lot of help from his running game. The stats might not show it, although the stats, the yards per carry, I think are 4.2 for the 2020 rushing season for the Buccaneers, whereas in 2019 rather, it was only 3.7. That's not a drastic difference, but 3.7 yards per carry, that's just absolutely abysmal. But just even having the threat of Leonard Fournette in your backfield along with Ronald Jones, that kind of dual-headed monster they have going on back there, that's enough for a defense to be concerned about, to be worried about, to plan around. Whereas last year, you knew Jameis Winston was going to throw for 40 times that game, and Ronald Jones was not going to be a factor in the running game whatsoever. The running game is just going to be non-existent. That is actually truly the biggest difference between the 2019 Buccaneers and the 2020 Buccaneers. And if Jameis Winston had the running game and had the Ronald Jones that Tom Brady has, I think Jameis Winston has a very, very, very good season, especially last year. And I think going into this year, he would be having a very, very good season. If you want to just sprinkle on the Tom Brady hate a little more, Tom Brady has only defeated 2 teams over 500 this season, being the Raiders and the Packers. Now, the Raiders are a team above 500. They're 6-5, but they just got fucking dismantled by the Falcons, so they're very weird. The Raiders are a very, very, very weird team. I don't even know what to think about them. They're very up and down, I guess is the word to say. Inconsistent is the other word. And they also beat the Packers, which is a good win, but that was not to the credit of Tom Brady, because Aaron Rodgers threw the ball to the defense a lot, and the defense absolutely carried that team to that victory and absolutely buried Aaron Rodgers and the Packers early on. I mean, honestly, in the other 5 games they have won, which they are 7-5, so that would make 2 wins against 500 teams, and 1 Tom Brady didn't have to do anything in. The other 5 have been against teams that are not so good. And then as far as their losses go, they lost to the Saints twice. They also lost to the fucking Bears. They also lost to the Chiefs. So, I mean, they're losing to teams that, I mean, the Bears they shouldn't lose to, but they're also losing to teams that are, they're losing to the good teams. They cannot beat the good teams. Yeah, the 2 biggest factors, I think, if Jameis Winston, if he's able to fix the interception problem, is doing much better than Tom Brady is this year. If he comes into this year fixing that problem, I truly think Jameis Winston would be better for the Buccaneers. And I think if Ronald Jones was the Ronald Jones he is for Tom Brady for Jameis Winston, then Jameis Winston wouldn't have to throw all that much that he did last year. I think those are 2 pretty big factors and 2 pretty big things to think about when comparing how Jameis Winston could have produced compared to how Tom Brady is producing. Let me know what you guys think down below. It's a very interesting thing to think about. I'm not the first person to think of something like this, but I truly think it is my honest to God theory. The statistics might not show it, but there are 2 pretty big factors I feel like I brought to the table that could be changing the course of action for the Buccaneers this year had they kept Jameis Winston. Let me know what you think down below. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see y'all later with another video. Peace.